Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another quick fire with the Hockey Writers. And we are doing our trade deadline edition, breaking news. And we got not breaking anymore, but reaction on the latest big trade that has happened in the NHL. And this is the next one to fall. Vladimir Tarasenko has been traded to the New York Rangers from the St. Louis Blues. For Niko Mikkola was involved in the trade as well. And this comes with a couple draft picks. So we got 2023 first rounder, conditional pick, fourth round pick, conditional as well. And then Sammy Blais and Hunter Skinner, who's a prospect defenseman. Mm-hmm. So first I'll introduce our panel here. We got Mike Meyer, who's covers the St. Louis Blues. So this is great having him on our reaction video here. And then Brooke LoFurno covers the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll talk to her a little later what would happen now. But first of all, Mike, what do you think about the trade from a St. Louis Blues perspective? We knew Tarasenko was going to be on the move. Didn't know where. Happens to be the Rangers.
Didn't know when.
Yeah. What do you think about the return and basically what they got for their superstar that's been with the team since he was drafted?
Oh, man. Yeah, this was a long time coming. I mean, it's been nearly 2 years since he made the public trade request here. And there was conflicting reports whether it was ever officially rescinded. And we learned it was never rescinded, that was falsified rumors. But you're losing out on a guy who is fifth in the organization in all-time points. It's never easy to lose a guy like that. I don't mind the trade. You have to really consider here, you got a guy who's moving his way out. He's going to be a UFA here at the end of the season. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's had the 3 shoulder injuries here in the past. You got a first round draft pick. That's huge. That I mean, you could have said, hey, it's a first round draft pick and a prospect and called it a day. And I think most Blues fans would have said, cool, we got to win. And the fact that you were also getting multiple players here in this, you're getting Sammy Blais back here in return. And that's fine. He's going to be a bottom 6 to middle 6 forward here. He knows Craig Berube's system. He knows the players. He's a big locker room guy. So I think that you'll see an extension here from him on a minor scale here at that point. It really sucks to lose Tarasenko. It really does. I don't mind the return. It's just going to be tough to be able to see him move on his way out.
Do you see a future? I mean, probably not, but do you see a future where they do re-sign him in the off season as a, free agent, or is he going somewhere else?
I think he could very well spend the rest of his career in New York, especially that he's got longtime pal Artemi Panarin that's going to be in New York here as well. I think these guys right off into the sunset here, just, off Madison. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. What's interesting is that the Rangers play one more game against the Blues here this season, and it's in St. Louis in April, just as one of the last 4 or 5 games here of the season, I believe. So as long as Tarasenko stays healthy, the Blues fans will get one last glimpse of him here before the season ends.
There you go. And there was retained salary as well. So $3.75 million was retained by the Blues. So the Rangers aren't taking his full 6 or whatever million, right? So, and that was going to happen. I mean, the way the salary cap is, retention was going to happen. It didn't matter where he went, what team just had the ability to do it. And Tarasenko to the Rangers. So we'll see what happens there. We'll talk about what they got. Brooke, what do you think about the trade? I mean, we're going to be talking about a guy that could be moving on next. But what do you think about the trade for both sides? What the Rangers got, what the Blues got?
Well, from a Blackhawks standpoint, I like it. I think the Blackhawks came out the true winners of this trade because Tarasenko is a notable Blackhawks destroyer every time they play. So, and I've always been a fan of Tarasenko, actually. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm happy for him, I guess. But I'll say I like it for New York a lot. That's the type of move you make when you're going for it. So I actually like that a lot. I was actually kind of surprised it was New York. I don't know why, but I didn't really see Tarasenko ending up there. But it seemed like he was really wanted to be on the East Coast. I know they said even from the summer that he was willing to lift his no trade clause for the Rangers, the Devils, and the Islanders. So it seems like he just really wants to be on the East Coast. So Yeah, like I said, I like it a lot for the Rangers just because they're going for it, and now all of a sudden their top 6 is really scary. I said I didn't really know if I liked it for St. Louis, but I understand because Tarasenko holds all the cards here.
Yeah.
It's not like they can just trade him to literally anywhere in the NHL. Is a little more difficult, but considering how their general manager was kind of trapped in that sense, like I said, that first round pick, I did not know Tarasenko would get a first round pick considering his injuries and everything else. But yeah, so yeah, I like it more for the Rangers, I think, than St. Louis. And I'm not just saying that because I'm glad that Tarasenko's out of St. Louis, but like I said, I'll give St. Louis snaps for, making the most out of that situation because of the fact that he did request a trade, and now they made it happen and they got a first round pick for him. So good on them for that.
There we go.
They get a B.
The 2023 pick, I was on record saying I'm not sure how many 2023 first rounders are going to move this year. We've seen 2 of them now move. These picks are supposed to be valuable for this draft. Granted, they're going to be they're going to be lower. I mean, the condition on this first round pick is the later of either the 2023 first of the Rangers or the Dallas Stars 2021 first. So it'll be the later of those 2. But it will be a first round pick in this draft. So the St. Louis Blues will have 2 of them, potentially more. I mean, we'll see what other trades happen. Ryan O'Reilly's still on the table. With that, Mike, what do you think is next for the Blues? I mean, you've got Ryan O'Reilly still available. That's the thinking that he will be traded. Do you see him being the next one? And do you think a first round pick's coming back for him?
He's very easily the next person. And the reason why I say that is because unlike Tarasenko, he does not have any trade protection to his contract whatsoever. So if the Blues could facilitate a trade here for him that they like, they can just move him and say, hey, thanks for your service. Thanks for bringing us a cup and helping us be able to win. And we'll see you later. So he very much so could be. He could, along with another guy, Ivan Barbashev, who's a very good, cheap, but scrappy forward, who we have seen play on the top line in St. Louis, all the way down to the 4th line. I mean, he can play in all situations here and just be a gritty player. So he's a guy who I could see on the move here as well. And if they're just looking to make a move, free up some more cap space, whatever the situation may end up being, it could be a guy like him. But what I could also end up seeing here is if Armstrong really wants to be able to dig in deep, may not be before the trade deadline, more likely going to be in the offseason, is going to be potentially one of his defensemen that is currently at a $6.5 million cap hit because he's got 3 of them who all have no trade clauses. So it's a little more difficult to be able to make that happen, but you never know here these days.
Yeah, I mean, the Blues could be even more busy. Maybe not at the deadline, but yeah, like you say, in the offseason where it kind of opens up. The deadline, there is a lot. It does restrict. I mean, there's not a lot of teams. You're either going for the teams that are going to be buying, which kind of cuts the league in half. In the offseason, you're wide open. You can have anyone kind of be interested to trying to get back into the playoffs or back into a position to be contenders or just for a rebuild to start, right? So I think the offseason is going to pose a lot more for the Blues. I know you're probably right. I think Barbashev is probably going to be traded as well because, like you said, he's a playoff guy. I mean, I think he's a playoff type player. So teams are going to be interested in him. O'Reilly, I think, is going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens with O'Reilly because there's been rumors for almost every team again trying to get him. So galore.
Yes. Yeah. I would love to be able to see him. We've got a little of a going bet here right now amongst the Blues writers about if he's going to end up making his way to Toronto and if we could potentially end up getting, I believe, was it Logan Cooley that plays with Snuggerud here right now, here at Minnesota? I forget who his line mate here is at the time. I'm blanking here on it, but they could easily be able to do it. But then we got a report out here earlier that said Kyle Dubas is not looking to move any of his high prospects just for a rental.
Yeah.
However, if he potentially can be able to negotiate a contract early with Ryan O'Reilly, that's a different story. So we'll have to be able to see.
Yeah. Well, Bo Horvat was traded to the Islanders and then signed with them like a couple days after that. So
right.
O'Reilly could have a similar thing where, he goes to a team and then signs really quickly right after. So Toronto thinks that they can re-sign him. You may be able to get a Matthew Nyes out of there.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know.
What I'm thinking of.
They're saying that Nyes is not going anywhere, but GMs say a lot around this time and then they do something else different. So we'll see. Well, let's move to other dominoes that may fall after this, and that is Patrick Kane. Brooke, do you think Kane is on the move? First of all, do you think he will be traded? Because he does the same thing as Tarasenko. He's got that no movement. He's got a no movement clause. So it doesn't, if he doesn't want to go, he's not going anywhere. Do you see a trade happening before the deadline? And where do you think he will go if he does get traded?
You know what? This whole saga, I think, has been so exhausting. And I feel like this as a fan, I can't imagine like what Kane and Taze or even general manager Kyle Davidson feel, because goodness gracious, the maybe not thing is kind of exhausting. But I always said since December, I was pretty confident that Kane was going to stay. I was pretty confident that Taze was going to be the one leaving and that Kane was going to be the one staying, only because Taze was more open about possibly leaving and seemed more open to it. Kane never did. Whenever he was asked about it, he was very kind of like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then he was making comments about playing with Lucas Reichel in the future. So kind of stuff like that made me think he was staying. However, now the last couple days, it seems like his tune has changed a lot. Now all of a sudden he's saying like, there's only 4 home games left before the trade deadline. So he's now like, I'm going to savor these last few games at the United Center if that's what it comes to, because I don't know what the future holds. And then he was saying how he was presented with exciting and intriguing trade offers. So hearing exciting and intriguing, and that kind of, makes me think. So now I'm starting to think I'm leaning more towards, I think he's going to choose to leave. And it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, I think, for sure. Even though it's coming, it's like the Tarasenko thing, like know it's coming. It's just like at this point, if that's the case, then get it over with. But I am leaning that towards, I think he's going to choose to leave.
Well, you're looking at, it's funny because you already have 2 players that are a long time with the teams that they were on. So you got Horvat, who was there since he was drafted. Tarasenko, there since he was drafted. Kane, there since he was drafted.
Yep.
And they're all they're high in their team leaderboards, and they're going to go somewhere else and finish their career somewhere else. And just another example of there's not many players that stick with the same team their entire career. It just doesn't happen anymore. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Kane. Mike, what do you think will happen with Kane? I mean, you cover the Central Division with the Blues. So do you think Kane's coming out of that division? And do you think it's somewhere out east? I mean, it seems like a lot of teams are the ones looking out east.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of teams are looking to move these high-end players, these historical, team legends, that they don't want them in conference. If they're going to move them to the other conference here at this point. Unfortunately, I think for the status here, of the Blackhawks, I think they have to move him. If you're going to be saying, okay, we want to be able to rebuild, we want to retool, but we want to do it here as fast and efficient here as possible. Patrick Kane is a player that you absolutely need to explore every single option for to get the best form of a return. Because who's to say that Patrick Kane's going to actually re-sign with the Blackhawks here for his next contract? And that's the same situation, that the Blues were in with Tarasenko. It was highly unlikely. They could potentially re-sign Ryan O'Reilly, but you don't know. So to say, don't let him take a page here out of Doug Armstrong's book and hope for the best that he's going to be able to re-sign his top player, but then just to lose him for nothing. I hate to say and just be able to treat it here like an asset, but you got to treat it like an asset here and be able to get something else here in return. So I think, it really does them well if they look to move him. And I think that's what happens.
Yeah, I there has been talks about the Edmonton Oilers going after Kane as well. I mean, the Maple Leafs have talked about, of course, the Maple Leafs have talked about everyone.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure where Kane goes. I mean, I think it's definitely going to be to a contender. It's not going to be to another team that's rebuilding or whatever. So will be to a team that's potentially going to be pushing for a Stanley Cup. So we'll see where Kane goes. He's probably will be traded. Like you said, again, salary retention will have to be involved. I mean, he's got a massive contract. What is it, 10 million or something like that?
Yeah, 10.5 million.
Yeah, 10.5 million. No team's taking
even with salary retained.
Yeah,
I would love to see him go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Just because.
I think a lot of people are saying that.
Just because. Just please make it happen.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I would say Dallas. If I had to guess, my guess would be the Dallas Stars, even though that's in division, but I don't think the Blackhawks care at this point. I think they're just going to move him where if he said I wanted to go to Dallas, I think they make it happen. So I'm going to guess Dallas or New Jersey. I think the New Jersey Devils, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's going to be a random team, right? It's going to end up being like the Pittsburgh Penguins or someone like we don't even like to think about, right?
Well, we didn't anticipate the Islanders getting Horvat. I don't think anyone anticipated the Rangers getting Tarasenko. Maybe not really left out, out of left field, but I mean, the Rangers go after a lot of their big, these big guys around the deadline, it seems. So, we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot more trades, obviously, before the trade deadline. There's a lot more guys on the market. We got Meyer still out there.
Yeah.
That's not a guarantee. That sounds like Sharks are going to trade him. He's a restricted free agent, not unrestricted. So there's a little more there. I think that trade is going to be a lot bigger because of the fact that he be still under team control wherever he goes. So that's going to be interesting to see. Trade deadline coming up. We're less than what are we at? 3 weeks? 3 weeks away from it.
Roughly
3 weeks tomorrow, I think. Just looking. Yeah. So 3 weeks tomorrow, it's the trade deadline. So we're going to have
buckle up.
Two big ones happen already. And it seems like all the big stuff happens before that day. So, I mean, we're probably not going to see any massive ones on trade deadline.
Hey, you never know.
We'll see. We'll see. There has been ones that have happened. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more of these reaction videos. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Brooke, for coming on, reacting to this trade and looking towards the future of what else may be coming up. So make sure you're taking a look at hockeywriters.com for Mike's continuing articles that go out, and he'll probably have one on reacting to that Tarasenko trade as well. Unless you already have one out. I was looking at who's been writing about it already. But
Ethan did a great job. Our team member here, Ethan Carter, he did a great job getting one out here within, less than 2 hours. Fantastic coverage. Yeah, he did
already stuff on the hockeywriters.com. So check out those articles. Check out Brooke's articles for more Kane. Probably going to be happy when this is over. Talking about
that'll be my article. I am so happy. That will be the name of the thing of the article for sure.
I can write something else.
Yeah,
well, that's how I feel with Horvat. I can talk about someone else now, but so it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot more of these videos coming out. Lots of stuff happening. And then right after that, we're going to have the draft. And that's going to be fun too, especially for the two teams you guys cover, because both teams are probably going to have a high pick, and the Blues have two of them already now. So
besties.
Lots of fun stuff.
The Blackhawks and Blues are besties. Rebuilds.
Rebuilding teams love.
Who's going to rebuild faster?
Yeah, exactly.
I think the Blues will, because they've got a lot more pieces. I think they
got a lot more veteran pieces. Yep, that's why they can't do a full rebuild.
Yeah,
that's me. You guys have no faith.
Well,
you guys are right.
Blackhawks have a lot of really good prospects. They got quite a few good ones in this past draft, and they're going to get a really good one in this one too. So lots of fun to come. Thanks for joining us. Another quick fire with Hockey Writers. Leave comments on what you think this trade is. From what the Rangers got, what the Blues got, and hit the like button, subscribe to the Hockey Writers YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time on another quick fire.